I've often said that gender-affirming care is health care, it is mental health care, and it can actually be suicide prevention care.
Identity Crisis is a new documentary film from the Daily Wire. It's produced by Charlie Kirk. He's one of the few names I recognise in the production credits. But it is about the trans identity phenomena, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better word. Just really personal stories, much more personal. So one of my favourite films in the last few years was What is a Woman? I think it's a very divisive film for obvious reasons. I think you're going to come pretty hard on either side. I don't think there's that much middle ground to be had on the transgender movement. I think you're either one side or the other for the most part. I do think there is room for a discussion there to how go about presenting one's ideas on the subject in a loving way, because whichever way you cut it, however you look at what transgender is, its roots and this, that and the other, the fact of the matter of it is that there are very real people going through very real things that affect their lives, affect them emotionally, spiritually, physically. Like people are going through some serious stuff. So there has to be a conversation there that involves, well, okay, let's talk about this. We may have different ideas, but we need to come at it from a loving aspect, so a loving side of things. So it's always difficult to talk about this stuff because it's always going to inflame a lot of people. But it's something that I have a very significant interest in. It's something I've done a lot of research in and over the last few years, certainly. So this is the latest kind of film to broach the subject. Now, What is a Woman kind of came at it from a more entertaining slant. In the last half hour or so, it got pretty dark because it started to look at the roots of where the transgender movement kind of took off, what it's born out of, and that got quite dark. This film, it's all that. So whereas with What is a Woman, you had like the first 2/3 that were actually quite entertaining, poking fun, maybe not in the most loving way, it's got to be said, but quite frankly, some of the people that Matt Walsh went after deserved to be taken down because they were instigators of lies, they were perpetuators of lies. So that's where the entertainment value came from, in seeing Matt Walsh take those people down in the way that he did, just allow them to talk in circles and run rings around themselves until their own philosophies started to look like complete and utter BS.
I thought fixing me externally would fix me internally, but of course I was wrong.
Here, we're less inclined to look at the instigators and the propagators of this stuff, so much as we are looking at the personal stories of those being affected. Now, we do look quite a bit at, again, people like Kinsey, people like John Money. I think it's hard to talk about this subject if you're coming at it from a particular slant at any rate, without talking about those people, without looking at the roots of the so-called research that props up the trans ideology. But actually what this film is most concerned with is the personal stories, the human element of people whose lives have been affected directly by it. So like one such story, and I gotta say, I cried during this film. This film brought me to tears. As a father, so there's one particular human interest story in this. It's a man called Adam, and when his son was 2, his wife, basically, he was separated from his wife. They had joint custody, but when his wife took care of the son, he saw that she'd put him in a pink dress and dressed him in long hair, wig kind of thing, and told him essentially that, yeah, you're a girl.
Please stop. He's a boy, not a girl. How can she do this to my son?
And because he said no, because he told the child, look, you're a boy, that's that. That's it. That's all he said. Basically, she got a restraining order against him, and that turned into that became like a 2-3 year restraining order, and then even after that the court decided, no, actually we're going to continue it and stick a 5-year restraining order. So that whole story is weaved in throughout the documentary, and it's absolutely heartbreaking because, like I say, as a father, feeling this guy's powerlessness, the fact that the state dictates what happens to his son, he gets no say, he's essentially told to shut up, and seeing the lengths that he goes to try and have any kind of communication to his son, even doing out like social media videos that hopefully one day his son might get to see, but quite frankly it's doubtful that he's seen any of them at this point. But you know, one can only hope that when this boy grows up, in all of his confusion that's been thrust upon him, somehow, some way, he will come across those videos and realise that his father was there all along, that his father was fighting for him, fighting for the right to see him. And so all that stuff is just absolutely heartbreaking. And seeing this guy being brought to tears when he realises, when he's got to the point of just absolute helplessness, is nowhere else to go, I broke. I absolutely broke.
The fact that the state thinks that they're more important and have a better say in what happens to your child over the actual parent's opinion is egregious.
That stuff really touches me deep, and it's those personal stories. There's more of them like that throughout. We get a lot of detransitioners in this film, people like Ollie London, you know, a very famous detransitioner, and again, his story absolutely heartbreaking. And the truths that this film goes into is just, again, it's not that these people don't exist, it's not that they're not going through something, it's that the care, the gender affirming care, whatever the hell that means, it's a lie. It's all built on a lie. And when you hear these people's stories, when you hear their testimonies that people on one particular side of the fence just outright deny and just fob off and don't allow to be heard, you can't deny it. Once you hear it, once you've seen these people and you've heard their side of the story and you see their video evidence of the things they've gone through and the things they've been subjected to and the fact that they're welcomed in when they're all for it and cast out when they decide that it's no longer for them. Much like What Is a Woman, it is a film that needs to be seen. And I know for a fact that once this film does go live, so I saw it because it was free to watch on Twitter for 3 days. I literally, just before recording this review, I finished watching it, and it's and we're on the back end of the 3rd day, so I'm very thankful I got to see it. I didn't even know about this film, quite frankly. I found out about it through someone on Letterboxd. It kind of popped up in something they'd done, and I'm like, what is this? I've not heard about this, and like I say, tracked it down. But this is the kind of film that, as with What Is a Woman, particularly on a site like Letterboxd, which is incredibly liberal, it will be filled with many reviews that talk about it offhand, dismiss it, say it's a load of nonsense, say it's unscientific and all this, that and the other, but never once will they defend their opinion with actual facts. And it's also very doubtful that those people even watch these movies. I would highly doubt that they watch these movies, because I don't know how anyone could listen to the testimony of someone like Adam in this film and not at least be swayed somewhat in their rigidity of opinion. For me, reviewing this film, the reason for reviewing this film is more to make people aware of it. If you watch my channel and you've not heard of this film, then maybe I might introduce you to it. And the same with What Is a Woman. Give it a go. You may have heard a lot of hyperbole about that film, and you will hear a lot of hyperbole about this film, I guarantee it. But if you don't get up your ass and watch it and actually make up your own mind by doing that, rather than just listening to the echo chambers, then I don't really have time for any opinion that you might have on the film, because you haven't watched it. I'm sure I'm going to take a lot of flack for telling people to watch this hateful transphobic movie, but for me it's just a lot of common sense that is being spoken. It's a lot of heartfelt truths by people who've actually lived this stuff, who have been manipulated through this stuff. And I think a lot of the truths about what the pharmaceutical companies stand to gain through propagating all the lies around the transgender movement are highlighted in this film, as they were with What is a Woman. And I just think you need to make yourself aware of that stuff. And this is a great place to start. Now, it's not for the squeamish, it's got to be said. There's a lot of imagery in this film. They do detail a lot of the transitioning process, the medical aspects of it. And quite frankly, it made me want to vomit. It's the butchering of human beings, particularly children. This all starts at kids, and that's the primary kind of angle that this film takes, is that we need to protect our kids, which to me is just a no-brainer. You wouldn't amputate a perfectly working arm just because somebody said they felt like they needed to be armless. So why we do it with genitalia and breasts, I do not know, but there you go. But as I say, that stuff is quite graphically represented. We see it in the film. I don't like it. I don't want to see it, but I understand why they've put it there. It hits hard. It's gruesome. In many ways, it is a horror movie. So, yeah, this isn't an entertaining film, but it's a very powerful film.
Puberty blockers, surgeries, big money makers for hospitals, for physicians.
All I want to do is hold my son.
This is the kind of stuff people need to hear, especially in the world we live in today. So all I can say is watch it. Go and watch it if you can. Like I say, it was free for 3 days on Twitter. I think now, possibly by the time this review goes out, the only way to watch it will be a subscription to Daily Wire. If you've never watched any of the Daily Wire stuff, then even a monthly subscription, just 1 month's subscription, I think would be worth it, just to watch some of the films they've made, the documentary films they've made in recent years. I think the answers that the film provides in regards to the trans ideology it's kind of common sense ones, really, but it's stuff that needs hammering home, which is that these are people, particularly when you're dealing with the kids side of things, these are people that they can't tell you who they are. So why are we asking? Why are we promoting? Why are we pushing? And I think a lot of the issues, particularly by the time they get to teenage years, the psychological issues, and even people who weren't pushed as kids, but for whatever reason, as a teenager, decide that transgenderism is the route they want to go down. There's a lot of other psychological stuff going on there that isn't getting seen, that isn't getting treated, that isn't being looked at. And the first port of call is to just affirm the notion that one is born into the wrong body. And I think, yeah, essentially the solution is, look, that's not the most loving thing to do. The most loving thing to do is to treat the psychology, is to deal with the traumas of the past that have led to this misguided belief in who oneself might be. To me, that seems like common sense, but yeah, you have doctors on here, you have experts on here that talk about that in a much more eloquent way than I ever could. It's 5 stars for me as far as documentary goes. Absolute necessity to watch. But there you go. I'm under no illusion that I will probably receive much hatred for my transphobia as a result of putting this review out. But hey ho, there you go. I'm just tired of sitting on the fence, I guess. Yeah. If you've seen the film, do let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. But only if you've seen it. If I sense for any minute that you're just here with an ideology and you actually have no idea what you're talking about because you're not seeing it, then I just won't even respond to you, quite frankly. But there you go. Yeah, thank you for watching this review, and until next time, cracking.